What's up, everybody? Let's start with big wins. Let's go ahead and start with some big wins. Nicole, start us
Yeah.
off.
Oh gosh.
Which begin in gratitude. So anything you're
Oh,
thankful
that's true.
for, personally or
Yeah.
professionally, for those of you jumping in that haven't done big wins with us, we like to set our trajectory and look for things we're thankful for instead of being so upset about all our problems all the time. So just a way
Yeah,
to
that's
start.
good.
Yeah.
I'd say probably speaking of Blake, him and I are trying to structure more consistency within like just us getting out because with working together in the business, on the business, it's always logistics, family, kids, business. And so we started implementing every other week dates where each of
Heck
us is
yeah.
taking turns on planning it. So it's not always on one person. So I'd
I
say that's
love that.
probably something that
So good.
I'm pretty grateful for.
Where's the
That's
date this
awesome.
weekend?
It's Blake's turn.
Oh, he's on the hook.
Yeah. We went to a place called Crumble Cookie. You guys have those? I
Oh,
don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
Yeah, we did that
yeah.
last time. We had never gone there, so we
Low
did that.
calorie cookies.
Nice.
Good for y'all. Good for
That's
y'all.
awesome.
Sean, you got a big win?
My big win, Brandon and I, or Donnie and Dickie, recorded our Dickie and Donnie show about an hour ago, and we clicked record and ran with it, and we had so much fun. It's so fun, and talked about things in business that are typical and things that are atypical, and how we build rhythms, but also give ourselves space for creativity and building. And it was super fun. Brandon, thanks for doing that with me.
Oh, that was sweet of you. Yeah, it
Oh,
was great. It
yeah.
was great. Well, anybody else got a big win for us?
Jim Ripper, you got a win for us? I know Jim's a car guy.
Yep, we do oil changes, Nicole, not full repairs and things like that. I guess the big one is my numbers are increasing this week. We've had a pretty good car counts this week. We opened a year ago, for those that don't know, and we're getting closer each month to making a profit. Nicole, how long did it take you and your husband to get out of the red?
Gosh, that is a really good question. I'd say up front, we felt really strongly that we weren't supposed to take on a bunch of debt. And so everything was very slow growth, everything. And we kind of just functioned with our own savings for a hot second. But within the first year, we started seeing a little bit more come in, and it's kind of fluctuated a little bit. We're in year 4 now, so 3.5 years. And I'd say probably starting with we started with coaching a couple months ago. And so now we're trying to, yeah, work toward larger profit, bigger profit. We just hired someone. So, expenses, all that stuff. So within the first year, we were seeing some decent numbers.
Good. Yeah, I don't have any debt. It's just all been from my retirement savings is what I've been put into the business.
Awesome.
So that's a good thing. So without debt, it could be a lot worse if I owed someone money while I'm while I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the car accounts to come in.
Well, Jim, we're happy you're here again. And I'll mention before Sean kicks us off, JVB in the house. Jessica, it brings almost a tear to my eye to see you jump into this. So welcome. But Shawnee, go ahead, kick us
All
off.
right. Well, now that we're on the hot seat, Jessica Van Brunt, we are talking about financial tune-up today. And this is our third week of a masterclass, and really glad you guys have stuck it out with us for 3 weeks. You know, we do this in the summer. Usually it's a time where business is kind of slowing down a little bit, and you can get some review of the first half of the year. So 2 weeks ago, we started with overhead, and Brandon talked about how to get accurate overhead numbers of what it costs us to run our business if no work comes in. Last week, I walked through our forecasting sheet and how to forecast revenue 6, 12, 18 months ahead of time. And so we talk about the back door. How do we stop money from going out? That's overhead. Talk about the front door. Where is money coming in next? That's forecasting. And so today, Brandon's going to walk us through how we manage money when it's in the house. And we use that with our level 2 dashboard. And so cash management. I was in Atlanta this week speaking and talking about how to manage cash. A lot of people talk about, P&Ls and accrual based or WIP reporting, what work in progress. And they say, oh yeah, this is in progress. And I said, well, there's a really famous company that did this thing called mark to market, and they would account for future cash flows in present day accounting, and it was called Enron. And so we're not so much like Enron of catching oh yeah, that's a future dream of this profit cash flow coming in. We want to know how much money, hard dollar bills we have. So Brandon, take us away.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, if you are new, I don't know if any of y'all are, but if you are new to some of our stuff, we're business on purpose. We exist to liberate business owners from chaos. We do this in a lot of ways. We're a team of 11 with 7 active coaches. We got over 115 clients in a lot of different states and 3 different countries, which is exciting. Some of our coaches have to wake up at the butt crack of dawn just to coach their people overseas, but it's a good thing. That's what we do. We coach businesses and we do much more than just the financials, although we are right now in a tune-up. So I want you today to set your mind. I know, Ray, I see you're in the car right now. If you're in a car and you got a dashboard, right, and there are check engine lights popping up, think of this as your financial car. And what we're doing is we're addressing some of the check engine lights that could be happening. So I'm going to start off with a story. We work with a business owner, and I'll keep him or her anonymous. So I'm actually going to use my son's name, Samuel. So this is my son. That is him holding a Texas A&M Frisbee. I love my boy. Man, that's an old picture. He's not that innocent anymore. But let's say Samuel did really well for himself, and Samuel, who's the embodiment of one of our owners, owns a $7 million home building company in the Western U.S. That's what he does. He's chaotic. He's frustrated. He had an 80% cost of goods and he was spending lots of money and he was keeping very, very little of it. Spending lots of money and keeping very little. He was bidding, he was estimating, project managing, superintending, marketing, and selling. He was doing all that. He had employees, but he was not good at releasing control. He couldn't give up anything that he wanted to hold tight. There was money in the bank, but it was always very slim. And Sam's philosophy was, well, as long as there's money in the bank, we got to be making money, right? It's like a fish. Well, there's water in the gills, so I'm alive. That's how he felt. And Samuel had $32,000 in cash running a $7 million contracting company. Whew, scary. Less than 1% of his operating cash to run the business was in the bank. And to be honest, Samuel was cash flowing a lifestyle. And if the music were to stop, he didn't have anything to show for all of his hard work and all of his time. He had nothing to show for it. He was tired of borrowing money from the bank and lines of credit just to duct tape this thing together. It had been years and years of duct taping it by borrowing money and all that. And he had this thought. He had the wherewithal to step out of his business enough to have this thought. Is there any way I can become my own bank without winning the lottery or taking on jobs that would bury us? Is there any way I can just become my own bank and borrow money from myself? No more borrowing other people's monies. No more using tomorrow's deposits to pay yesterday's bills. We're done with it. And Samuel committed to just a couple of things. And man, it paid off. I will, in this talk, I will show you the actual dashboard where we track Sam's money, and I'll show you some other examples. But the first thing we had to do with Sam was we had to close that back door. We had to stop spending money we didn't need to spend. There was money leaking, or if you've heard the term, there was money melting out of his accounts. And whenever we get in front of business owners, we're met with the same 2 challenges. It's 2 of them. You could bake everything we hear down into 2 things. It's people problems that we think new employees will solve, or it's money problems that we think more sales will solve. Everything goes into those 2. Now, we were in a room in Dallas, Texas. It's a room that Jessica Van Brunt met BOP in, and we were having a very similar talk, and we met a remodeler in Texas, and he came down with as much swagger as he could muster. I'm not even going to try a Southern Texas accent, although I lived in Texas for a little while. And he walked up, cowboy boots, cowboy hat, all the swagger you'd think. They said, I already know our problem. Oh, yeah? What is it, Mr. Cowboy, sir? He said, we need more sales. That's what he said. But what he didn't realize is that when you pour gasoline on an already chaotic fire, what do you get? You get more chaos, right? You might have heard the phrase, sales solves all problems. Sales are a lot like marriage. You think your communication's bad before marriage. You're like, well, when we get married, it'll just get better. Nope, it gets way worse. Sales don't solve your problems. They accelerate your problems. Sales make really good systems look really, really good. But if you have bad systems, sales make the bad look far worse. They accelerate your problems. I would argue you probably don't have a sales problem or a money problem. If you feel chaotic, what you have is you have a process problem. And we say this all the time, but your product is not your product. Your process is your product. People can go buy your product anywhere, but what they're paying for is the process of how you deliver said product. That is what you're actually selling. It's a process problem. So Samuel, this 3-year-old that owned a $7 million company out in the Western US, stopped obsessing over total revenue. And what he started to do is he started to obsess over cutting expenses, closing the back door. And this is what he realized. I need to start watching this money before it sneaks out the back door. And we've already addressed that. backdoor with two things. We talked about it in our first financial tune-up episode, how to calculate your overhead, and last week, how to forecast out revenue. That's how you close that back door. But okay, we did that, but how do we actually stop spending money we shouldn't spend? Well, second thing Samuel did is he figured out how money works. Right? You need to know the behaviors of what you're working with. If I were to tell you I have a son that still sleeps with a pull-up and can't leave his room till the light changes, if he's 18, there's an issue there. But if you hear that he's 4, you understand the behaviors and it makes a little more sense. So if we're working with cash, we have to understand the behaviors. And there are 3 behaviors that cash has. We talked about this a lot week 1, but simply a dollar is not a dollar. A dollar in is always more than a dollar. Or a dollar out is always more than a dollar. We spend money. If it says $9.99, you're spending way more than that. And a dollar in is less than a dollar. So we need to know the behaviors to understand, because if we're thinking of an 18-year-old boy doing things a 4-year-old boy should do, it doesn't make sense. So when we say cash, we're talking about the behaviors of money. A dollar in, or a dollar is not a dollar. A dollar out is more. A dollar in is less. So he committed to himself to knowing this. But now I want to talk about how we spend those dollars, because it's really important. Mike Michalowicz, in his brilliant book, Profit First, introduces what's called Parkinson's Law and into the world of business. And this will make a lot of sense. What it means is the demand for a thing will match its supply. So our demand for money will match its supply. So let's put it this way, something that's more relatable to me. My wife is an avid movie theater popcorn lover. There's at least one night a week I drive to the local theater. I don't know if you know you can do this. You can walk straight in, pass a ticket, go to the counter, get a bucket of popcorn, and walk straight back out. And I've realized you have to put it in the seatbelt or it'll shake, and then popcorn gets in your car. Once a week, I drive after we put our kids down to the movie theater to buy my wife popcorn. So let's let this relate a little bit. If you buy a popcorn this size, guess what? You're going to eat it all. And if you buy a popcorn this size, guess what? You're going to eat it all, right? It's the Parkinson's Law. So how does this relate? Well, if you keep all of your money in one account, guess what? You're going to spend it all. But if you subdivide that money into lots of littler accounts, it's much harder to spend. It's much harder to sneak out the back door. So after studying this behavior of money, Samuel committed to stop serving money. And instead, he made money serve his purposes by doing a few things. 1, subdividing every dollar. He broke every dollar into little pieces. And then 2, he placed those dollars into their own specific home or bank accounts. And when he did this, the results followed with over 1,000% growth in Samuel's situation. And I'll show you the dashboard here in a little bit. So here's
Donnie,
the method.
One of the things that I did when I was
Donnie.
a business owner, I know,
Yeah.
Dickie and Donnie, it can't get out of me. When I was growing a business, I would get to certain levels of my bank account. And I didn't know this system. So if I get to 100,000, I'd be like, all right, we're at 6 figures. If we go below that, I'm freaking out. And then we get to 200, and then we get to 300. And then I would have freakouts like if we got under certain numbers that were arbitrary, and I would start freaking out because I didn't have a system to review that, these dollars are in the right places. So just to say that as an aside, that I know the pain.
Yeah. Well, thank you for relating to our business owners. But here's what we're going to do. I'm about to walk you through how we taught Samuel to subdivide his bank accounts and how we've taught every client of ours in the last however many years we've had clients. And here's how it is. So take notes, all this if you want. We'll give you everything we have. Samuel created 6 bank accounts. That's right, 6. And I'll explain what they are. I would argue if you are not in an aspect of construction, you could maybe argue 5. But we'll stick with 6. So he opened 6 bank accounts. And as he did this, he had to confront 4 major barriers that tried to stop him. And if I'm a betting man at all, I'd be willing to bet those same 4 things, at least one of them are running through your mind right now. Here's what they are. This is what he had to battle. 1, he had to battle his own limited mindset, saying, this is stupid and it's too much work. He had to battle that. That's what he thought. That was his pushback. This is stupid and it's too much work. Second thing he had to battle, his bookkeeper, who said, this is stupid and it's too much work. Subtle side plug here. Your bookkeeper works for you and not the other way around. So I'll place that there. But he had to battle that. He had to battle his CPA, who said, you guessed it, this is stupid and it's too much work. Another reminder, your CPA works for you and not the other way around. And lastly, he had to battle his bank, who said, we're going to charge you for all this. Well, guess what? He found a local bank who loved hosting his deposits. He found a bookkeeper that was relieved that this would reduce her chaos. He found a CPA that said, I'll do anything I can do to make your life easier and make you more money because that's my job. And Sam finally implemented the subdivided bank account system. And these were the accounts that he set up. These were the accounts that he set up. He had an all income account. Every dime of the business went into the all income account. He had a cost of goods account. Again, in construction, especially custom home building, your cost of goods are about 80%. I'll remind you what those are. Cost of goods is everything that's job specific. If you lose all your jobs, what expenses do you no longer have to pay? If you're building a house and you bought all the material, well, no house, no material. That's a cost of goods. If you build a house and you're paying a roofer, no house, no roofer. That's a cost of goods. If you're building a house and you have people on payroll, well, the house stops, payroll continues. That's not cost of goods. So any cost of good to do what you're doing is its own account, and it's off to the side for a reason, because that was never your money. You're the middleman. And then he set up these 4 accounts underneath. If you're not in construction and your cost of goods are under 20 or 30%, you could not do cost of goods if you want. If your material and anything like that is over, you could. And you can ask us questions. We'll go through all that later. But the main 4 accounts underneath that are profit, owner's compensation, tax, and operational expense, or OPEX is what we pretty much always call it, OPEX. So a receivable would come in and would immediately place the percentage of cost of goods in that account. That's why we do it this way, because that's not your money. You've already promised it to your builder. You've already promised it to the person you're buying your material from. So get it out. It's not yours, right? You get $100,000, take it out. That 80 grand is not yours. And then what's remaining is what we call your real revenue. So $100,000, you take out 80 grand, we have 20 grand left. We call that your real revenue because we got the rest of it out. So then what you do is, based on that real revenue, you now flush that at predetermined percentages in the other accounts. It's pretty simple. It's popcorn. It's my mom growing up buying a giant thing of popcorn and asking for little cups for me and my friends. You put the popcorn in the little cups and you give it to the friends. And I was bigger, so I got a little more. And they were smaller and they got very little, right? But it's literally the same thing with money. So we put it into these sub accounts. Now, you might be asking, well, where in the world, how do I know what percentages? Well, we met with his accountant. We figured out about how much he's spending on cost of goods. We made it a little conservative. Say he was at 78, we put it at 80. Say he's at 81, we put it at 82. Make sure we have enough to pay our people. So we put it in cost of goods, and he realized what he wanted in cash, what he wanted in taxes, and spent on OPEX, right? If I know that after I get my cost of goods out, I'm about 65% in operating expense, great. Call it 70, throw it into that account. And what he did is he started with profit at just 1%. That's why the system is called profit first. Let's force ourselves to realize some sort of profit. Started at 1, flood the other accounts for a little while. Every business owner we have that has implemented this system now is their profits in the 10 to 11 to 12% because they've realized where they can trim other areas. But just start at 1. Just start at 1. And he did this every week for an entire year. Every Friday or hit, and he flushed his account. Whatever was in his all income account was now flushed, cost of goods and all these other accounts. So his income account read 0 every Friday afternoon because he flushed it. But then next week, all the money would trickle in, and he did this every single week for 1 year. And this is what happened. Week 1 of the pandemic year. Week 1 in 2020, Sam had access to $32,000 of cash. By the way, he thought he had over, and I know it's pretty small, but he thought he had over 100,000 because that's what was in his bank account. But no, what he could spend was 32,000. And the first 8 weeks, when you average it out, was 80,000. So you take the first 8-week average, he had $80,000 to run a $7 million business. By the last 8 weeks of the same year, and by the way, he started thinking he was going to make 8 million, and he went to 7. So his revenue declined by $1 million. In the last 8 weeks of the year, Samuel had over 300,000 in cash after cost of goods and after taxes are taken out. That's real cash.
Did something happen in 2020? I mean, what was going on then?
It's just it's this tiny little pandemic.
Oh, really? I haven't heard
Yes.
about that.
So
Okay.
it literally went from 8 million to 7 million and still grew from 32,000 to 300,000. Samuel literally calls it voodoo. And this is what he said. All I did was cut it up and pay attention to it. And it worked. Because you start to realize, I don't have all this popcorn to eat anymore. I can't eat it all. I'd love to, but I can't. You see a $100,000 receivable come in, and that $75,000 flatbed truck you've been wanting sounds really good. But you cut your money up and you got 6,000 out of 100. Can't buy the flatbed. So you stop making decisions you thought you were making, and you just cut it up and you watch it. And you watch it. I'm telling you, this actually works. Every client that we have had do this, implemented the subdivided bank account system to manage their cash, has seen huge growth in cash in their business, so much that when we start a coaching relationship with a client, we promise them they will grow by at least 10% in cash in the first year. At least. That is such a conservative number, because it's usually way more than that. But we guarantee that if you implement our system, we guarantee it that will happen. So if you're sitting there like, well, this only works with West Coast $7 million companies, we've pulled a few other examples. And by the way, we literally have hundreds of these. So here's a $5 million hardscapes contractor. $5 million. Well, he grew from 607,000 in cash to 882 after drawing out over 600,000 in cash profit in 3 years. He grew from 607 to 882 and he took out 600 grand in personal profit because he was watching his money. Here's an example of a $2.5 million subcontractor. He grew from 215,000 in cash to 242 after taking out 183 in personal cash profit. The system just works. Here's an example for one that's a little smaller. Here's $1 million cleaning company. They went from 58,000 in cash to 155 in cash after drawing out 80,000 of cash profit in a year. So imagine getting 80,000 in profit after your salary and still growing by roughly 300%. We didn't just pick the few success stories we've had. We tried to pick ones in different ranges of income and in kind of a little bit of a different industry, but we have countless of examples. And I'd be willing to bet we have a story to tell from someone in the same industry as you. These were all, I guess you could argue, construction of some extent, even cleaning supports it. I've had people in retail that have gone with 500% growth simply because they started watching their money. They started tracking their markup cost, right? We didn't just pick the few, but how does it work? Well, we finally start to separate the cash for what we need it for, and we stop spending cash on what we don't, and in turn, your cash just grows because it sits. And then it starts to tell us something, because what if you're putting 80% into your cost of goods account and you don't have enough money to pay for your cost of goods? What's that tell us? Our cost of goods are higher than 80%. Whew. But I'm basing my pricing on 80%. Okay, let's try 82. It just starts to tell us something, right? You have so much money in your cost of goods, you don't know what to do with it. Great. We're running at a greater percentage. We can lower it from 80 to 74, whatever it would be. It starts to speak to you. So here's the deal. When I talked about overhead 2 weeks ago, we shared the template. We said, here's how you do it. Here it is. And I hope you used it. I really do. And then last week, Sean talked about how to forecast out our revenue, and we shared the spreadsheet. We even met with a couple of y'all to walk through it, and we taught you how to use it. And I hope that you continue to use those things. But we are not going to share our spreadsheet for tracking bank accounts this week. And we actually made that reason for a very specific, or we made that decision for a very specific reason. We're not going to share it. We're willing to share anything, but we were not going to share this because here's what we've found. We have shared this. We call that the dashboard that tracks your cash. We call that the level 2 dashboard. And we've shared that countless of times before. And the reality is, if you don't have your bank account set up, then it's more confusing than it is anything else, because that does nothing for you without your bank accounts. Literally nothing. It's just a spreadsheet that catches it. So if you don't have bank accounts, it's more confusing than anything else. And we're here to liberate you from chaos and not add to it. So we don't want you to simply get the tool and then not have what it takes to fill out. It'd be like getting an awesome miter saw. It takes up a lot of room in your garage, but you never use it. I'm not talking about myself, but we don't want you to simply get the tool and not have what it takes to fill it out. So here's what Sean and I are going to do. Joe Calloway says it all the time. Vision without implementation is hallucination, and we want you to implement. We want you to go to the bank, and we want you to open up 5 or 6 bank accounts. By the way, if your bank tries to charge you for those, go to the next one, because they make money on your deposits, so they want more of them. So just tell them, that's fine. I'll go find a bank that won't charge for them. If you're here in the low country of South Carolina, we'll get you set up with a bank we use all the time. I know that seems daunting to go open up those bank accounts, but once you've done this, if you send Sean an email with proof of your accounts, one of our coaches will reach out immediately to set up a time with you, and we will walk you through literally everything. We will walk you through the percentages. We'll dissect your P&L with you. We'll set up your percentages. We'll do the first flush with you. We'll do it all. But you have to have proof of the bank accounts. We've offered too much time to people, and they don't have the bank accounts, and there's nothing to show for it, because then they're like, well, I want the level 2 dashboard. Why? Why would you want that? It doesn't make any sense. So if you go set up your bank accounts, we'll throw the world at you in this stuff, because we want to share everything. We want to help you. We'll figure it out with you because we want to help. We want you to succeed in growing cash in your business. That makes us all better. We don't want to hinder your progress, so we're intentionally not sharing anything this week. But if you want them, go open your bank accounts. Shoot us an email with proof. I got my 5 bank accounts. I have a new client. Recently, he called me this morning. I'm going to the bank at 11 a.m. I'm excited when I go off this call. He should have his bank accounts, but I haven't shared anything with him because he doesn't have his accounts yet. We'll make sure to get you set up so you can start experiencing the voodoo for yourself. So,
I love it.
Man, we're grateful for this. this time.
Brandon, that's great. Thank you for running through that. And I mean, Brandon, Brent, myself, we all have stories, story after story. I've got two clients in the last 6 months that have had six-figure swings in cash flow. And one of them's about 3 million a year. One of them's probably over 30 million. They've got a ton of inventory they're building. It's incredible. So massive swings in cash flow that just by tracking it, you may have heard this quote, you can't improve what you don't measure. So a lot of times business owners make decisions on feelings. Oh, I feel like this, or I feel like this. We like facts. We want to use data to make decisions. And so if I know that you've got X amount of cash and that grows over month, week over week, I can make better decisions about trajectory, about employees, about people, rather than just saying, "Oh, this feels like the right decision. Maybe we should go this way." No, I don't want to make decisions on feelings if I don't have to. I'm not against intuition and gut feeling, but if I can make a decision based on data, that's going to be much better. Also, I did this with my wife. You'll laugh at this. My wife's a therapist and she runs a counseling office. Well, she's got a private practice. It's just her. And so I said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to RelayFi, which is an online bank. And I literally set up like 4 or 5 accounts, taxes, her operating expenses, income. And we set those accounts up. She flushes those accounts and then she flushes to our accounts. We do this personally with every end of every month. We sit down and we flush accounts to, there's medical expenses and trips and giving accounts. And it's been so good for us as like a couple to feel like we have agreement on where we're going. So I just say it works in business. It works in small business. It works in family. It's just awesome. So this was so great, Brandon. Thanks for sharing this. Again, we are here to liberate you from chaos. And one of our 30 tools is a level 2 dashboard. And so we would love for you to build that. I will be happy to walk you through that. If you email me, I'm going to connect you to one of our coaches. I'll probably send out one of our 7 coaches. But we exist to liberate you from chaos. And we don't just coach you through financial chaos. We build foundations, purpose, people, process, and profit. And so all of our tools are based on those 4 foundations. If you want to set up a meeting with me or Brandon, I can send you along. Also, we would be remiss to not tell you about one of the most incredible podcasts you've never heard of. It's called The Dickie and Donnie Show. It's life-changing.
It's life-changing.
I mean, if you've enjoyed this, this is the tip of the iceberg for financial content and absolute chaos. So our podcast is somewhat chaotic, but also fun. That's a link to our Spotify podcast and would be happy for you guys to jump on that. And lastly, if this was helpful for you or if this was terrible and you hated it, we would love to know. Just click that and send us the most wonderful comments or the most scathing. We will accept all feedback to this financial tune-up. We did this last year and had some great feedback. And so really would appreciate y'all just giving us thoughts. So that's the end. I'll leave this up here for y'all to, actually, let me leave the feedback survey up. Any questions before we jump off? I know that's a lot of talking from our end, but be happy to engage questions.
Yeah, Sean, I'm curious about the bank that y'all are using. I've got some folks that are having trouble with fees from their bank, and they're in somewhat remote areas. They've got like one local bank, and they're charging them out the wazoo for my client to give them more money, which doesn't make sense. So
this is what we use. I use RelayFi. Nope, that's not it. RelayFi.
Careful.
I don't know. See if I can find it. This is the actual Profit First. Oh my goodness, I can't even get to it.
Slow down, brother.
This is the official Profit First bank, although we don't get a referral fee from this. And they've actually got, it's really cool. They've got automatic transfers, and they will do, money comes in on a Thursday, Friday, they'll do automatic transfers. They've got high yield savings accounts, money market accounts. It's really clean. It's online. They'll send you a card. It's great to do. I'll give you the other option. Pay Proudly shares an office with us in Bluffton. We've got a referral relationship with them that we can set you up with their accounts receivable, accounts payable. If you need to do high volume stuff, Jeff's wonderful. So email me and I'll set you up with Jeff because they do really great work as well and can plug in with this. So we try to build a network of connections that we can set you up. So if you have questions beyond that, yeah, good question, Brent. What other questions do y'all have?
Sean, can you change the slide? That QR code does not work. So
we didn't test that. That's literally the only one we didn't test. That's hilarious.
I have a
Nicole.
follow-up question to last week, just regarding the forecasting spreadsheet. Brandon, I know you had mentioned that you have a spreadsheet that you had put together for businesses that have like 50 plus.
Yeah.
And I think Blake had tried to email you, but just hadn't heard back. So I just wanted to see if you could either put your email back in here and I'll send you an email, or just follow up on that.
Sheesh. Sorry. Yes, it was a draft. That's clerical
Oh.
error. Yes, I'll send that over today. I apologize, Blake. I
No
thought I
worries.
hit sent and it fell off my radar. But yes, I will send you.
The
that.
chaos in Brandon's email inbox is apparently very
Y'all
strong.
spam is killing us.
We've
Don't
had a
get Brent
terrible.
started.
It's been an
Yeah,
email
everything's
time
ending
this
up in
week.
spam.
Yeah.
Although that's not an excuse. Y'all's was not spam. So that was me.
No worries.
I
Thank
hate
you.
email. Yep.
Any other questions? What other questions about overhead, about bank accounts, about getting clarity on cash flow?
I
Life.
have another question. You guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, I was a little late to the meeting, but we run a construction company here in Texas, do about $20-something million in revenue, and I guess so. Subdividing accounts. So to what revenue does that work, or it doesn't matter how big you are?
Now I've got clients that are tens of millions of dollars that run this system because the bank accounts are just the underlying QuickBooks, and you still run your accounting and they still run accrual based P&Ls for accounting and tax purposes, but the bank accounts are just giving you visibility of where the money's coming from. So this is just a helpful support in an accounting structure that we build out.
Got it. I do have the accounts, therefore, so it doesn't matter, right? So right now I do have an account for AP, AP, payroll, loans, just deposits.
Okay,
I had
good
bad
start.
experiences that the checks they were vandalized a couple times, and
Yeah.
you had to close accounts. It's just a lot of work, move everything. But
Florencio, tell me how much your annual revenue is roughly.
the what?
How much you say your revenue is per year, plus minus?
Last year it was about 22 million dollars.
22?
Yes, sir.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what's your cost of goods percentage?
About possible percentage, 80%.
Yeah, great. So
Yeah.
we do an instant assessment, and what we do is say top line, you're at 22, your materials and subs are 17.6, and
Mm-hmm.
then this is the recommended percentages we would set up. So you can run an AP AR account, you could run a payables, but this would be profit, owner's pay, taxes, and then operating expenses. And then we also build out, we could do CapEx, so tools, trucks, toys, you could do a giving account. We build additional accounts out. If you want more clarity, like you said, you got a payables account, you have a payroll. If you wanted to do, okay, here's my operating expenses that are rent, that are utilities, and then there's another one that's payroll. I love that. I mean, we've got some owners that have 32, 40 bank accounts just because they get more clarity in where the cash is.
Yeah,
No, they have multiple locations, to be fair. Those
Got it,
people have
got it.
multiple locations, so it's per branch and all that. But yeah, there's a
Got it,
lot.
got it. Tibor.
So
Tibor,
then,
let's reach out to you, Sean, I guess. Your name is Sean?
yeah, Sean. And so then,
Sean.
yeah, and I'll show you what. So say you get, say you get 100 grand in receivables. For some reason, my spreadsheet is not what I want it to be. Let me change that. Okay. So say you get 100 grand receivables, you'd take 80 and put it in cost of goods account. You'd pay all your subs and materials out of that. And then you'd fund your other accounts with that amount. And then the level 2 dashboard, this is my dummy account, but this is how we would track. So you'd get 100 grand, would track. That's what came in for the week. There's your all income account. And then you'd flush your accounts accordingly. And then we'd track week over week. And the goal would be, as you see these operating expense go down here to average. I can't, zoom's in the way, but we track an average of those accounts over 6 weeks. And so we do that, in periodic ways to track how much money you've got.
Tibor, very interesting.
Great question, Florencio. Thank you. Any other questions for Brandon about life or business?
All the life advice, man. I got it all.
Hey guys, can I share?
JVB.
Hey, Jessica.
So first I want to share my big win because I'm sorry I missed it. Because of being a BOP client for so long, I take BOP, my coaching, very seriously. I'm now off on Fridays, which was my goal when I started 3 years ago.
Why are you
So
here?
that's why I missed the last two, but because I love this dashboard so much. So I just wanted to be in a place of encouragement for those of you who are on this call that are thinking about it. This really changed our life and it changed our entire business. And so I kind of just wanted to share that with those of you who are not a coach, right? You're on the other side of this, you're a business. So we're a commercial general contractor. We build QSR in Texas. So I'm responsible for a lot of money and a lot of money that's not mine. So if you're a subcontractor on here, you really need me to know where your money is because I can't spend it. So this was a big deal for me. We've been in business for over 20 years. I bought out my in-laws. My husband stayed in the business. They retired and I took over just a lump sum bank account, which is a horrific idea. So when I first was doing this, I had a tax account on my own. I knew that money was not mine. And we had some other, charitable giving accounts and things like that. But the dashboard, I was super reluctant to do. So I just want to be very transparent with that because I was busy and I run my books really well. We utilize QuickBooks and I'm really strong with reporting. And my coach kept pushing and pushing. So just for clarity, it took me about a year to really grab onto this. I would not suggest you take as long as I did. But the benefit of that, we have 32 bank accounts now. Our bank was one of those people that was like, hey, we're going to charge you for every account. And I said, cool, I'll be leaving. And so it's amazing what happens when you say that. So all of our bank accounts are free. We do have money market accounts. Those are accounts that are, all of our tax stays in there, our charitable giving. We also created about a year and a half ago, it's an old crap fund. Like that's not what it's labeled, but essentially it's a payroll account for 8 months of payroll for everyone in our company should things go wrong. We all learned the hard way in COVID. So anyways, I wanted to be in a place of encouragement and tell you there's nothing like being able to cut a check to a charity that you love and believe in and not blink an eye. We have charities, multiple charities that depend on us that we are able to commit to at a yearly basis because I already know what's in that account. My forecasting document tells me what I'm going to make. I can make commitments to them. They can go do their charitable giving. That's why we're in business. We can do bonuses without being stretched. We can pay our tax bill at the end of the year and be one of the few people that aren't crying across from our CPA. So if your CPA, your bookkeeper, and your bank aren't on board, guys, go find somebody else because there is a CPA, a bank, and a bookkeeper that is like, oh yeah, I have about 15 clients just like you, and they are all very profitable. I know exactly what you need. So I just say that from a place of encouragement. Get on board. Please do this. As an owner, you deserve the freedom that it liberates you from having the ability to take cash out and know you don't owe it back. That's what my in-laws did. They took money out and then, oops, we really weren't supposed to take all that and they put it back in. I saw that stressful lifestyle for them for about 18 years. So we don't do that. We take it out because it's mine. And I earned it and I know it's there for us. And we do great things with it. So we also do it on the personal side. So I just encourage that. But anyways, I wanted to tell you that as a business that just truly went all in with coaching, went all in with the level 2 dashboard and the forecasting sheet, and just say, please go run your business and don't let it run you. It's the most liberating thing you can do is do this document with BOP.
I'm looking for a mic to drop. I can't find one, but I'm
say.
just going to go. That was not scripted, and I feel
It
like
was not.
We didn't pay her. We didn't pay her.
This was she was an industry plant that we put in here too. Oh my
so good.
gosh,
That was so good.
Yes,
I actually
that
have
was
a
great.
question. Can I ask her real quick?
100%. She's here now.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm curious. So I'm the one in our business who's filling this out regularly, but how do you utilize it after it's filled out? Like, what's the practice for you to go in and use it?
So I live on this dashboard because I make decisions all week long based on this. So we call it a sweep. They call it a flood. We sweep every Monday into those accounts. And so that way for the rest of the week, I can make accounting decisions based on that. Who do we pay? Can we, we're on a pay app system as a GC. So we also look at it like when we're forecasting and budgeting for things. So we use it every Monday. And I have taught 2 other people in our business to do it. I don't do the sweep anymore. I have a project controller who only manages all the projects for our company, and each one of those projects has its own bank account. And then I have a company controller, and she sweeps for, the other accounts that don't have anything to do with the project. The project feeds those accounts. And then I report on that every Monday and review it. If you have debt, that's a big thing. We went debt free last year in December. That was a huge piece with my coach, and that's tracked at the bottom of the L2. So, and then we also added stuff. So sometimes in business you have to borrow. So once you have enough money, you can borrow from yourself. There's a spot you can also track on that. So it depends on what you're doing with it. But I live in that dashboard. It is saved as a favorite, on my menu bar. I use it all the time. And then also, Nicole, just, we created a BP for that. So we actually have a real process for how we move money, how much, how we leverage it. It has a process that we follow as well.
That's really good.
So good. So good to see you, Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica, we use it for our household as well. And I have never been one to manage and budget. Just a high eye on the disc, just like let it ride. And it has literally changed our finances. We just went to the Dominican for our 11th anniversary, and we have a fun account. No stress for me. It's not pulling out of savings. It's not coming out of checking. We've stewarded our money. We have a giving account that we can go, hey, like, who can we just help out right now? And we have an operating account to run the Whitaker household. Man, it's makes me feel like I'm really smart when I show my wife the spreadsheet. She's like, who are you?
The
I'm like,
cool
I'm a
thing is,
business coach.
and the giving side, you can give twice because you fund the account, so you get $500, you fund the account, and then you got the account, and you can actually choose who to go to. So
Yep.
we recommend donor advised funds as well that can,
Very good.
you can put your money there, it grows, and then you're also giving double. So cool opportunity to do that. Thanks, Brent. Any other questions for old Donnie, Dr. Donnie, Captain General Gray?
Wow. That was something.
Yeah, you are something.
Thanks.
Mm.
Cool. Blake and Nicole, I sent that off your way, that high volume forecasting. So I sent that to y'all and TJ. Sorry about the mishap last week. But other than that, y'all, we are grateful that you spent this time. You will not get this time back. And we know that. So we take the fact that you are here very seriously. So for y'all that tuned in, thank you. If y'all have our emails, Sean, Brandon, Brent at Business on Purpose, reach out if you need anything. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Get some good rest this week with some of your marginal time. Spend it wisely.
Have a great day,
See
y'all.
y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.